What a year it's been for Toronto condos. We can now close that book of 2023 and look forward to 2024. One thing I like to do every single month is go over Toronto condos and what it costs to either rent or buy those different Toronto condo layouts, one bedrooms, two bedrooms, one plus dens, and studios, and talk about how those rents and buying numbers have changed on a month-to-month basis. And now that December numbers are in, we can now close that book of 2023 and move on to the new year when it comes to Toronto condos. If you haven't been here before, my name is Gabriele Battista. From Homes into Reality, I'm a Toronto real estate agent with the focus and the passion of helping first-time buyers in the Toronto real estate market and passionate about educating first-time buyers and getting them into home ownership. We're going to do a ton of first-time buyer education in 2024. So if you want to reach out about your first-time buying goals, in the description, my phone number, my email, and a link to book a call with me are all there. So you can reach out and touch base about what your goals are. And you can stay tuned, subscribe, and like the video. You'll see our weekly content coming up on YouTube and Instagram. And we have our weekly newsletter that we keep first-time buyers in touch of what's going on in the Toronto real estate market. But like we said before, today we're going to go through Toronto condos and we're going to break down the different costs between renting and buying these different layouts, your studios, your one bedrooms, your one plus dens, and your two bedrooms. We're going to see how those prices change on a month-to-month basis and how they differ, let's say, renting versus buying. We're going to start by going through our Toronto rent numbers, and we again are going to be looking at a median price point to buy these different condos. The reason why I like to use a median price point for these condos is that we don't want to get skewed by luxury properties. So especially when it comes to the larger layouts like your two bedrooms, some of your one plus dens, you could get properties that are significantly more expensive in the millions of dollars that are just not realistic for a first-time buyer in Toronto. So because we want to focus on a first-time buyer, we look at that middle price point of what a condo is selling for and renting for. So we're using those numbers strategically just for the first-time buyer. We're going to start with our big shoe boxes in the sky, studio condos, the ones where they're just one big room, a space, no bedrooms, more of a combined living space. Your kitchen, your living room, and your bedroom are all in the same spot. We're looking at a median price point to rent of $2,100 a month. Now that is down $63 from last month in November, where it was $2,163. We have seen some declines in prices from their peaks in September at $2,300 a month, mostly because the peaks in September is when most students are renting, and that busyness in the market has really slowed down as we went through the Christmas months. Moving on to your one-bedroom condos, a much more common layout with over 600 of these properties leasing out in the month of December, compared to studios where you have just under 100 of them leasing out. So we have more volume. We're looking at a median price point to rent of $2,378 a month. This is a decrease from last month of about $30, where the price point was $2,416. We have seen those declines in prices. Volume stayed relatively the same, but you can definitely see demand dropping off for one bedrooms as prices are coming down. You notice that we're technically in the same spot as we were last year in December, year over year. We're definitely seeing a lot of that price growth that we saw in 2023 go away and essentially entirely. Now, one plus dens is a very similar situation. We have a very similar amount of volume, just over 600 properties rented out in December, but we're looking at a price decrease of about $50 a month, where we have a median price point of $2,565 a month, where last month it was $2,611 a month. With that price decrease, we essentially have lost all of our year-over-year gains from the peak of the market in the summertime, where now we're sitting in the same spot as we were in December of 2022. And lastly, my favorite layout is our two bedrooms. We had a good amount of volume for two bedrooms with just over 500 of those properties renting out, but we have seen some price decreases. We're looking at a median price point of $3,056 a month. That's down just under, just over $100 from last month, where it was $3,168 a month, and it's down almost $200 from 2 months ago, where it was $3,252 a month. So we've seen some pretty quick decreases for your two-bedroom rents. We did see prices come up a little bit faster for two bedrooms, but they're coming down just as fast. I don't know about you, there definitely has been a bit of a trend when it comes to Toronto rents. All the gains that we did see in 2023 have essentially been wiped out. The only exception to that rule is your two-bedroom condos, and they're pretty close to being the same price point as they were year over year. As we saw in 2023, in the May, June, July, and even August months, we saw prices go up in rents slowly but surely in most cases, where two bedrooms, they kind of went up a little bit faster for rent prices. With that being said, all of those gains that we saw in those spring months have been wiped out. Over the fall and the early winter months, rent prices have come back down to reality, where in all the cases you'll see for one plus dens, they're in the same spot. For one bedrooms, they're in the same spot. And for studios, they're in the same spot. So if we look at the year of 2023, from December to December, there's been no rent growth, which is definitely something that I would say I was a bit surprised to see. But it shows maybe there is some stability in the rental market ahead. I'd also add on that there is a decent amount of inventory of rental properties on the market currently right now. It may put a downwards pressure on rents to continue. With that being said, it feels like the future of rent prices are probably going to be very, very seasonal, where we're going to have a very stable few months from January to middle of the year, let's say May. And then as we approach that big September deadline, prices will go crazy. And then after everyone's found the property, when it comes to September, October, prices are going to come back down to reality. It feels like that's what seasonal activity we're going to see in 2024. But you know what? That's why we track the numbers on a monthly basis. Now moving on to our purchasing numbers. Again, we're going to be using median price point for these properties, especially when we get to the 2 bedrooms where median is very helpful. We don't want to look at the luxury properties. We want to look at the typical 2-bedroom property selling in Toronto. Starting with your studio condos. This number is very volatile as very few properties are selling at their studios. We're looking at a median price point to purchase of $431,000. That number is slightly up from last month. With that being said, if you see the big graph in front of me, that number isn't something that I'm surprised about. You'll see that there's lots of jumps in price and lots of dips in price, especially because we're dealing with such low volume. It's very normal for us to get big volatile months going up and down. For context, we only had 16 properties in December that did sell that were studios. So with that small amount of volume, we're not going to get a really accurate number. But overall, you see that the trend has been that prices in the studios have been trending downwards. Moving on to your 1-bedroom condos, the median price point to purchase this type of condo is $540,000. That is slightly down from last month, down $7,500, which is a pretty big drop. You'll see that overall for 1-bedrooms, we've been trending slowly but surely downwards over the past few months. Been a little bit more stable for some months, but we definitely are trending downwards. We are negative year over year, some slight price decreases year over year. We had some growth earlier in May and June, but prices have definitely been trending downwards as the year's gone on. Moving on to 1+ dens, it's a similar story as well. We had price growth from January all the way up to June, and we've seen prices slowly but surely grind their way downwards, where now the median price point to purchase a 1+ den is $619,000. That is down slightly from last month where it was $622,000. But we have been grinding pretty significantly, with the last 2 months being a little bit of a bigger drop. 2 months ago, we saw the median price point being $25,000 more. So we're definitely grinding downwards as we get closer to the winter months where activity is much slower. And lastly, your 2-bedroom condo layouts, which actually is the most transacted condo layout out of them all, with 173 2-bedroom condos transacting in the month of December. We're looking at a median price point to purchase this condo at $700,000, which is a $20,000 decrease in the median price point, which is this most significant drop we've seen in prices across all layouts. And even if we look from the peaks in August and July, we're down about $80,000 for these 2-bedroom layouts. That's pretty significant. I was seeing that 2 bedrooms were a little bit more resilient. You'll see the graph come up. There were some months where they weren't moving too much. They were kind of coming back up. The price point was a little bit more resilient here. And for us to see that big drop in price, we're definitely seeing a little bit more pain in the 2-bedroom market. And the fact that we have so much more volume for the 2 bedrooms versus the other layouts shows that there definitely has been a switch in the market. So the overall trends when it comes to buying different condos, we definitely have been seeing a price correction for condo layouts across the board, studios being the only exception, but that's because the volume is so low. What I have to say about that is this is a trend that I'm not surprised by, and I thought would have happened earlier. We've been seeing a lot of particularly newer condos stay in the market for a long time, not particularly selling. They've been kind of sitting in the market and staying on the market for a very long time, and we haven't seen many of them sell. Now I'm starting to see some condos sell, but they're at significantly lower prices than what they were initially listed at, let's say 3-4 months ago. So I think as these condos catch up with comparables, more properties see what they're selling for, I can see these prices continue to come down. How much, I'm not too sure, but I'm definitely curious to see the future of condo prices. A lot of people would say there's less demand in condo. I think there's definitely more supply out there. But it'll be interesting to see what the new year brings, especially as we get into the spring market. But at least in the short term, it definitely seems like condos are grinding downwards slowly but surely. My gut tells me when it comes to shopping for condos, because I do have a lot of first-time buyers that do consistently shop for this type of property. It's an interesting market because there is opportunity out there where there's a lot of supply, where you can look for properties, let's say at a slightly discounted price point, or at least discounted from their list price. There is opportunity out there, and there's a lot to look at. If you wanted something a little bit more unique, it can be a little bit difficult. But if you are looking for something a little bit more cookie cutter, something that is a little bit more generic, there's lots of similar floor plans out there. There's tons out there really for you. And if this is a home that you're looking to live in for yourself, there definitely is opportunity. If you're looking on an investment perspective, the cash flow can be very difficult. But if you're looking for an entry-level property where you want to get in yourself, there's lots of supply out there. It's more now about picking the right property and getting that property at a right price point. You don't want to overpay for a condo in this market. You definitely want to make sure you pay a suitable amount, something where the market dictates it's worth it at this point. But the interesting thing, if we look at the perspective of all of 2023, if you look at the detached market, the semis, you see that there was huge price jumps in May and they've dropped down just as quickly. We definitely haven't seen those big jumps in the condo markets. We saw prices go up a little bit into the May months, and they've come down as well. We're at a similar point year over year. But there wasn't as huge swings. So in a perspective where you're going to buy a property for yourself and you're worried about paying at the market at their highs or at their lows, this market's been relatively stable. There have been some shifts in prices, but they haven't been as drastic as your freehold properties where prices have jumped up and then come right back down pretty hard. Now, the good news is when it comes to Toronto condos, I am tracking this on a monthly basis. It's something that I'm consistently looking out for, making sure that, my clients and my first-time buyers, my future homeowners, like you guys, the 71 subscribers and counting, are aware of what's going on in the Toronto condo market. So if that's something you want to be a part of, subscribe to the video, comment what you want to see more of. I'm always providing more value for first-time buyers. In the description, you have a link to book a call with me, my phone number, and my email if you want to reach out to me directly. I'm happy to touch base in getting you into a home in 2024. This is all we do. We always want to educate first-time buyers, and there's something that I can do to help your journey. Happy to help, happy to get you started. Anyways, enjoy the rest of your day. Take care as always.